go on.
So again, I'm sort of explaining the 8 jins through form practice. The 8 jins are Peng Lu Ji on Jiao Kao Jai Lia, and they have to be in accordance with or created from the 5 attitudes: advance, retreat, look left, look right, and such equilibrium. Those define a sphere, those 5. And once you have that sphere, then you can understand how the sphere morphs into different shapes, which we call form. So once you understand that, and you've gone through all 8 jins this way, then you apply that to with a partner, what we call push hands, and then you apply it to moving step with a partner, and dasho, sometimes they call it, and then sansho, which is just free form. Then, so all of those are dictated by the jin. So if you don't practice the jin, then really there's no taiji. And that's the reason for the form, is to help you to understand the jin. It's not to look fancy or take pictures or whatever you want to call it, that people do from the form for it. It does help your health because the jin makes you healthy. But anyway, here we go. So this is the Chen Pen Ling first section. There's 6 sections in this long form, so I'll just do the first one. So in general, you create the jin from sinking. So you sung, right? And in this form you step forward. And then you sung, and that sung creates this ting, which lifts up your spine and lifts up your hands. So it's kind of this action-reaction relationship. And then you sit on that left foot and brings the right hand back and the left hand forward, right? So this is all versions of split and rollback with a little on sort of involved or participating along with that. And it just switches sides. So I call this the vertical circle, so it's showing you very clearly that. That's produced from song and ting. And then you create an. Okay, so an's a very easy and important jin, right? And it repeats itself. This is lu, right? So lu is this kind of splitting jin, or diverting, maybe a better word, like water. Divert water. Go out the right, and then that leads you into this big rollback. We call it lu, again, jin. And then you create this an in your right hand and peng in your left. In the Yang school, they don't touch here. They just keep them separated. But here it's very delineated. This is an, this is peng, and this creates ji. So again, the jins are produced together, and then they separate, and then they're reproduced because of the 5 attitudes. So the 5 attitudes are expressed in this form, in this posture, which is play guitar, which is peng, really. So you have everything's upright, balanced, uniform, and even, hopefully. And then you turn to the right and create lu. You separate. Again, you divert. You create yin and yang more clearly on one side and then the other. And that creates an. And then you shift forward, and it tries to create an in this left hand, but it creates peng in the right hand. And then they become ji again. They rise up into this vertical circle and horizontal circle meeting. And then they split again, right? So this is the nature of change, showing you the nature of change, which creates lu, or lu jin. So the splitting energy, right? So all this is directed from the navel, of course, and you're pressing down on one foot and releasing the other to produce this. Now you're creating ji again, like we did going to the left. And that all produces this rollback expression as you go back, which becomes an, or jin, or push, jin. So an is down, right? That's its general characteristic. Ji is triangulation. This is lu again, toes in the right. Again, this form is very clear about how these are delineated, how they're created, and how they separate. This is G again with single whip, and then we go to the diagonal. And that creates an here on the left, and that lifts the right in this form. And then you separate again and create lu in this left hand, which throws an, gets thrown into lu, which creates a split variation. This is lie in Chinese. which we call what's it called? Embrace the moon. And then we embrace the moon over here to the right. This is another split. We call it high chop. But it's also Lu. This is Lu here. And really this is Jai. So you can do a pull here. That's what Jai means. And then you shift to the right and it creates white crane spreads wings, which is a perfect balance again of An and Lu, which creates this yin and yang balance, which is white crane. Shift to the right and you pick up the left knee. You have a little G here and then you go right into An again. So now the An is showing you how to create split from An, which is brush knee. So in that way you have almost all 8 implied here. I forgot to mention shoulder and elbow there. But here's elbow, by the way. Zhou. Zhou Jin is this kind of across the body splitting kind of Jin. Hard to explain, but that's what it is. Shoulder, of course, is inserting that shoulder, and you can insert it in a number of ways, not just forward, but to the sides as well. And that creates another brush knee. So everything's in everything. That's the good news. The bad news is it's hard to find. Here's play guitar. So if you lose center throughout all of that, you have to go back to center. So at every 50-50 marker, which is pretty much between every posture, we call transition. This is split, lie. This is high split that you see in the Dalu practice. Talk about the left, which is moving step push-ins. Wait on the right, and here's another version of play guitar, which creates this another version of split we call down block parry. And that creates this version of press we call punch, which creates wipe off, which is a version of jive, which then produces this An Jin. So they're not just postures going after each other, they're expressions of Jin going after or produced from one another. This is press, which is cross hands. And then you step out, and then you inhale, and you do another cross hands, and then you start to feel An. So again, that press produces An, and that makes you step out, right? And then that lifts up your center, again, drops, all the flesh pours down, the bones separate, then the right hand lifts, and the left hand lifts to the heart. I'm doing the close. Then you exhale and do An again. And then you do roll back in all of the organs, joints. Then you separate all that out and take out all the bad stuff. It's not the Jin. And when the heels touch, you have just pure Jin coming up the spine and lifts your hands. And Ji again. And that creates An again.